All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at our exam review. We're going to go over the first 26 questions. Number 1, our inverse is, if Zach does not receive a Lego City set for his birthday, then he will not be happy. You should be looking up here. Your mouth should be shut. I shouldn't have to tell you this again. If Zach is converse, if Zach is happy, then he receives a Lego City set for his birthday. Contrapositive, if Zach is not happy, then he didn't receive a Lego City set for his birthday. Okay, so inverse, we make it not. Converse, we flip it. Contrapositive, we do both. For the statement above, write either a biconditional statement or give a counterexample. Biconditional, the converse and the statement has to be true. If we look, if Zach is happy that he received a Lego City set for his birthday, could he receive something else for his birthday that would make him happy? Yeah, that's why the biconditional doesn't work. If the biconditional did work, listen to it, I would say, Zach receives a Lego City set for his birthday if and only if he will be happy. Okay, that if and only if goes in the middle for biconditional. The original statement, it's not biconditional because the original statement may be true, but the converse is not. A possible counterexample could be that Zach could be happy if he received a Nito Peachy Keen train set for his birthday. A Nito Peachy, it just means like cool. It's just being silly. All right. Number 3, define inductive reasoning and give an example. Inductive reasoning is drawing a conclusion based on a series of examples. Given 1, 2, 3, you would conclude that the next number is 4 because it has a pattern. Deductive reasoning and give an example. Deductive reasoning is drawing a conclusion using known facts. An example would be given 2x equals 10. We would conclude that x equals 5 because we know we can divide both sides of the equation by the same number by multiplicative property of equality. Define each of the following. A quadrilateral is a closed four-sided plane shape. Parallelogram is a quadrilateral with 2 pairs of parallel opposite sides. A trapezoid is a quadrilateral with exactly 1 pair of parallel opposite sides. An isosceles trapezoid with congruent legs, the non-parallel sides, the base angles of the opposite legs are also congruent. Kite is a quadrilateral with 2 pairs of congruent adjacent sides. A rectangle is a parallelogram with at least one right angle, which makes everything else 4 angles are right. A rhombus, a parallelogram with 1 pair of congruent adjacent sides. Actually, it should be 2 pairs of congruent adjacent sides. And I've lost my pen. Awesome. Okay, and a square is a rhombus plus a rectangle. Both of those things together. Okay. All right. No. Number 13. This is our flow chart for number 13. Your quadrilateral, can you guys see this? I'm trying to make it sure it's in focus. Okay. A quadrilateral, 4-sided 2D shape, sum of interior angles are 360 degrees. A parallelogram, both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. Both pairs of opposite sides are congruent. Opposite angles are congruent. Consecutive angle pairs are supplementary and diagonals bisect each other. Trapezoid, exactly 1 pair of parallel sides. Isosceles trapezoid, legs are congruent. These legs are congruent. Common base angles, uncommon base angles, like these, are supplementary and diagonals are congruent. Kite, 2 disjointed pairs of consecutive sides are congruent. Definition of the diagonals are perpendicular. Diagonals bisect, do not bisect. Diagonals bisect opposite angles, so it cuts the angles in half. And 1 set of opposite angles are congruent. These would be congruent. Rectangle, at least 1 right angle, all end up being right angles. Diagonals are congruent. Rhombus, at least 2 consecutive sides are congruent. All sides are congruent. Diagonals bisect to the angles. Diagonals are perpendicular and bisectors. Diagonals form 4 congruent right triangles, if you cut them. Square, both rectangle and rhombus. Diagonals form 4 congruent isosceles right triangles. Okay? All right, number 14. Thank you. Number 14. You want to find the midpoint. The midpoint formula is x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. The midpoint is 6.5 and 0.5. Yes?
How'd you get that?
I will go over it in a second. I've said. Going to go over 1 through 26. There is no talking, gentlemen. Number 15, the distance formula is x1 minus x2 squared plus y1 minus y2 squared all over the square root. Does it matter if the y's come first or the x's come first? No, because it's supplement. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, 3 plus 4 is the same as 4 plus 3, right? Okay. The distance is the square root of 34, or 5.830. Okay, how do you solve the hypotenuse for a 45, 45, 90 triangle? Well, the hypotenuse is square root 2 bigger than the length times the length, so the hypotenuse is 8 square root 2. Supplementary angles are 180, complementary are 90. 18 equals negative square root 3 over 2. Negative square root 3 over 2. Number 19 is 1. Number 19 is 1. 20 is negative square root 3 over 3. 20 is negative square root 3 over 3. 21 is negative 2 square root 3 over 3. Negative 2 square root 3 over 3. And 22 is 1. 22 is 1. And 23 is square root 3. 23 is square root 3. 24. Okay, 24, the lengths for JK, the slope for JK is 2, the length is square root 20. Slope for KM is negative 1/2, length is square root 5. Slope of ML is 2, length of ML is square root 20. Slope of JL is negative 1/2, length of JL is square root 5. Find the slopes and lengths of the midpoints. The slope of KL is undefined. The midpoint of KL is 4, 5.5. The slope of JM is 3/4. The midpoint is 4, 5.5. What shape is shown? The shape is a rectangle because both pairs of opposite sides are parallel and congruent, and because the adjacent sides meet at 90 degrees, they have opposite reciprocal slopes. Okay. Questions? Comments or concerns? Just tell me which problem we're on here. Okay. All right. We're looking right here. So this is when I make sure I've got my unit circle out in front of me. All right. And you will be given one, of course, on your sheet. And we're asking about which one specifically? 18? 19 through 21. 19. Sine is 1. Remember, sine is the y value. So the y value at 90 is 1. That's how I got that. 20, negative 30. So negative 30 is actually 330 because we go negative. And we want the tangent of it. So we want negative 1/2 over square root 3 over 2. Negative 1/2 over square root 3 over 2. So that's negative 1/2 times 2 over the square root of 3. These cancel. I get negative 1 over square root 3. Multiply the square root 3 by the top and bottom. I get square root 3 over 3 negative is my answer. Okay. 21. Secant, that's 1 over x. So for negative 210 would be, I believe, 150, right? So that would be 1 over the x value. So that's 1 over negative square root 3 over 2. Remember, we have to flip that. 2 over negative square root 3. Remember, we can't have a square root 3 on the bottom, so we multiply the top and bottom by the square root 3. We get 2 square root 3 over 3, and that's negative. Remember, with these, everything is going to be multiple choice. Okay, so you could always put, if you get this and you're like, I'm unsure if that's the same as this, you could put that in your calculator and this in your calculator, and it should give you the same number. Does that make sense? If you're a little bit worried about that. Yes, Layla.
Number 14 and and 15.
Okay, number 14, the midpoint is x1 plus x2 divided by 2.
Yeah, I got that.
And y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Okay, so 5 plus 8 is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 divided by 2 is 6.5. Negative 2 plus 3 is 1. 1 divided by 2 is 0.5. Okay, and which,
Oh, okay.
and what's the other one, Layla?
15.
15.
I was a little confused because I forgot how to like do the equation.
Yeah. So this equation will be on your formula sheet. It'll say D equals, just like this, for distance. And you're just going to plug these in. So you're just going to go like 5 minus 8. That gives me negative 3. Negative 3 squared is 9. So under my square root sign, I have 9. Plus y minus 3 is negative 5. Negative 5 squared is 25. 9 plus 25 is square root of 34. Square root of 34 is 5.8.
Oh, okay. I remember how to do it, but I didn't know how I would write it down.
Any others that you guys want to go over? Yes.
Yeah, I'm on the same one, but I did just one more y2 minus y.
You should still get the same answer.
I got square root of 24, and then when I put it in here, I got that.
All right, so Anna said she had the formula y2 minus y1 squared plus x2 minus x1 squared. Okay, so we're going to label this one x1, y1, this one x2, y2. So when I put it in my calculator, you guys got to be quiet. I don't care if you're not listening. The people next to you are. Shut your mouths. You should not be on your phones. You should be paying attention. Remember, this is 20% of your grade. So I'm going to put it in my formula. I'm going to put the square root, and then I'm going to put parentheses. And I'm going to say y2, which is 3, minus y1, which is a negative 2, end parentheses squared, plus parentheses. Now I'm going to do x2 minus x1, end parentheses squared, and I get 5.830. Yeah, it's just making sure, like, it's really tricky to make sure everything's plugged in just right. Otherwise, it gives you a crazy answer. So just double check them when you're taking your final. Okay. Any others? Yes, Jonas.
24 and 25.
24 and 25. Okay. 24. Which one specifically? All of them? JK, KM, ML, or in JL, or is there one specific? All of those? Okay. The slopes and the lengths? Just the lengths. Okay. So if we're looking from J to K, again, I like to label them each time x1, y1, x2, y2, and then I'm going to set up my, what I'm going to plug into my calculator first before I plug it in. That's what I like to do. I'm just going to go 8 minus 4 squared plus 4 minus 2 squared. Again, if you have these switched, just make sure they're both switched. If you have 4 minus 8 and 2 minus 4, just make sure they're both switched. And you can switch either one of those. So I'm going to plug into my calculator. I go the square root of 8 minus 4 squared plus 4 minus 2 squared. And I get 4.47, which is the same thing as square root of 20. Okay, one's just simplified. Okay. Jonas, is there something specific that you feel like you're doing wrong? Did you get decimals instead and want to know the decimal equivalent of each of these? Or is there, like, when you looked at the way I did my process, did you do your process differently?
Well, I didn't know like this.
Oh, okay. You were just having a hard time with that? Okay, so it's all about that formula. Okay? Or you can literally look, if you want to graph these instead, if we had, like, on a coordinate plane, I'm just going to graph J and K. If J is 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, right, and K is 4, 8, you're going up and over, okay? No, from 2 to 4, I'm going to go up 2. From 4 to 8, I'm going to go over 4, okay? 2 squared plus 4 squared. Make sure you square root it. Okay, so if we were to do that, if we were to put in our calculator 2 squared plus 4 squared, we would still end up with the same answer. I would still end up with 4.47. Okay, so you can do it that way. That's totally fine. Right? You won't be able to write on your actual test, but you can always have graph paper or scrap paper. I'll make sure to have that for you guys. Others? No other problems that you guys want me to go over? You guys feeling pretty confident? Or not at all? You don't know? Okay. You have 27 through 48 to do that is due on Tuesday. Okay? It is on my website if you need it, if you need to reprint it, if you lose it. It's right there. I am going to stop this recording and post it on my website as well.